Bolt is one of those movies that makes you wish you could go back in time to see it again for the first time.
You're Bolt, the super dog!
Or get amnesia for that matter. If only it was that easy to get your hands on more Bolt content. This gem was a triumph on so many levels, blending emotional storytelling with cutting-edge animation. Yet, despite its success and depth, Disney failed to see its true worth. For years, it boggled my brain until I took the time to do the research and find out exactly why Disney has this dismissive attitude towards the film. It's bonkers. They must be scared of making money. Because up to the point of not releasing a sequel, they were doing everything right. Through the pitfalls of bad marketing, cast mistreatment, and developing Bolt as a Disney film rather than a Pixar film, which clearly would have made all the difference, they still managed to conjure up a masterpiece. So why in the name of all that is magical were there never sequels or spin-offs? And can we expect to ever see a Bolt series in the near future? You're about to find out. This is Disney's failed next big thing, Bolt. This ex-user's mini synopsis sounds ridiculously amazing, and it's not far off. In this trailblazing animated film, Bolt, a canine TV star is raised to believe he has superpowers, making him oblivious to his true identity as just an ordinary dog.
So, the dog thinks this is all real?
Oh yeah. Guy never leaves the set. It's unbelievable.
Things happen, and he embarks on a cross-country adventure, discovering his real non-superpower, inner strength, and the power of friendship, of course. As many of you, I love the concept and the end product, and still do, but it could have gone so wrong had certain early changes not been made. The initial idea of the film was highly bizarre and seemed more like an idea that the creators of Rick and Morty might have come up with than a prominent Disney writer. This concept, titled American Dog, followed a TV star dog on a surreal road trip through Nevada, guided by a one-eyed cat and a radioactive rabbit. Yeah, you heard that correctly. Trippy, right? I'm glad Disney eventually got their act together and made the version we know and love, which, believe it or not, was based on real life. The possible reason for this I'll cover later, but I agree the film's roots in reality gave it the edge it needed to up Disney's game, because after the lukewarm reception of films like Chicken Little and Meet the Robinsons, frankly, they needed a hit. The inspiration came from the behind-the-scenes world of Hollywood, where the pressures and demands on both human and animal actors often go unnoticed. Bolt's journey mirrors the real struggles of those thrust into the spotlight and the secret manipulation they often endure. Speculation raged on about who and what specifically inspired the film, and fervent fans even discussed the main character's name, hoping something would click in place. I was today years old when I found out that my own assumption about his name was completely wrong. Bolt is based on his speed, nothing else, and the character was actually inspired by old-timey fictional dogs such as Lassie and Rin Tin Tin. And here I was thinking his name was based on the fastest man alive, Usain Bolt. In my defense, I wasn't the only fan that made that connection. Anyhow, the stage was set. All Disney needed was a kick-ass team, and then this brilliant idea would certainly have franchise potential like none other. Or so they thought. Suddenly, one person stood in the spotlight, the whole future of Disney stacked on his shoulders. This director-producer was known for runaway Pixar successes such as Toy Story, Finding Nemo, and Cars. John Lasseter had a prolific track record of turning animated films into beloved classics, and now he was expected to save Disney. He was no doubt the only man for the job, but the pressure to perform and craft the perfect cast was immense. So constantly, the cast changed, sometimes at the very last minute. For example, Chloe Moretz was cast as Penny, Bolt's beloved owner, and even recorded all her lines. However, Disney decided to replace her because she was still relatively unknown at the time. Before long, she was replaced by someone more popular. Sorry, Chloe, we still love you.
She is the real deal. She has added so much to this character and so much to this part. She elevated the part. She made her streetwise, smart, tough.
The final cast was perfect, especially the voice actors of the main characters. They were extremely popular, known for projects such as the action-packed movie Pulp Fiction and the widely adored TV show Hannah Montana.
I waited years to do it because all my friends like Tom Hanks and Robin Williams were doing great ones like Toy Story and Aladdin, and I wasn't getting the right ones offered to me.
Both actors had amassed die-hard fans who eagerly followed their careers, making them ideal choices to draw in large audiences of young and old. Casting John Travolta as Bolt and Miley Cyrus as Penny skyrocketed sequel and franchise potential. At least it looked that way on paper. Putting it all together, however, was another challenge entirely. The production team had to pull out all the stops to give the unique story the treatment it deserved, because box office competition was fierce. They weren't only up against DreamWorks, which was working on Kung Fu Panda at the time, but also essentially competing with themselves. On the one front, Disney aimed to elevate their studio's quality to match Pixar's, which they also owned. On the other front, Bolt also faced competition in-house from Pixar's upcoming release, WALL-E. Both WALL-E and Kung Fu Panda, as you know, would turn out to be massively successful films. Quite the conundrum, wouldn't you say? The question was, would the $150 million budget be enough to stand out in such a competitive landscape and secure the ongoing success of Bolt as a franchise? A large chunk of that budget already went to the all-star cast and marketing, but what was left was smartly pumped into a spectacular innovation. Bolt was one of the first Disney movies to approach 3D differently. Instead of converting the film to 3D in post-production, the animation was designed and rendered in 3D from the outset, allowing for more immersive scenes. Additionally, animators visited various locations across the United States to capture realistic landscapes for the film. It was, after all, based on real life. Indeed, Bolt was shaping up to be a contender, and the stunning visuals and cast weren't the only reasons, although John Travolta was very excited about that part.
The animators have to then match all that with their imagination and their drawings. So to me, the most exciting thing was their marriage between those two.
What a weird man. But just like Travolta, Bolt had some interesting quirks going for it. How late is too late for a sequel? That's something I often wonder, especially when it comes to crazy good movies like this, with so much going for it. In this day and age, many things still divide us, but none so much as the millennia-old question: dogs or cats? Bolt, a lovable white Swiss Shepherd, was awesome enough to make even the most devoted cat people reconsider their allegiance. This part is hard to admit, but I loved Bolt so much I forgot that I even had a cat. Mental note, I should probably feed him sometime. Unfortunately, there was one thing not everyone could agree on. The soundtrack was a point of contention. The main song, I Thought I Lost You, performed by Miley Cyrus and John Travolta, gained significant popularity, earning a Golden Globe nomination and becoming a favorite among fans of the movie. Okay, you know what? Actually, everyone loved it except this person on X. Now, he doesn't count, and at least everyone agrees on the most important thing. It's almost impossible not to cry in this movie. The heartfelt storyline of Bolt discovering his true self, the positive message about appreciating what you have and staying true to oneself resonates deeply with audiences. As Miley Cyrus aptly puts it,
you take the moment to really realize what you have instead of worrying about what you don't.
The movie contains pure emotional storytelling, and in the end, it did as well as it could under the circumstances. I think, like me, you all probably wish that the film performed better. Maybe then Bolt and his entourage would have lingered longer in our hearts and minds. Not that it performed badly, mind you. Bolt grossed over $300 million worldwide and was nominated for 10 awards, including an Oscar for Best Animated Film, which it lost to WALL-E. It currently holds a respectable rating on Rotten Tomatoes with an 89% critic score and a 74% audience score. So Bolt raced across the finish line perfectly, but then why didn't he get another lap? Though we haven't seen a continuation of Bolt on our screens yet, I don't think we realize the actual influence this movie about a talking dog and his weird friends had on the real world. The effects are tangible, visible in pop culture, and most likely puttering around your home at this moment. Bolt paved the way for more emotionally rich and character-driven Disney films, showcasing the importance of heartfelt narratives and complex character development. Essentially, Bolt walked so Disney movies like Frozen could run. Before Bolt, no one would have even thought to ask if you wanted to build a snowman. But its impact stretched farther than fictional characters and make-believe creatures. Even though pets don't know the difference between a television and a microwave, it impacted them as well. And I'm not talking about the fact that tens of thousands of people named their dogs Bolt after they saw the movie, regardless of the gender of the poor dogs in question. No, the film actually helped raise awareness about the realities of animal shelters and the importance of pet adoption. Following the release of Bolt, many animal shelters reported an increase in adoption rates, as the movie's positive portrayal of shelter pets resonated with audiences. The film also highlighted issues related to pet abandonment and animal cruelty. By showing the struggles and resilience of abandoned pets like Mittens the cat, Bolt brought attention to the harsh realities faced by many animals in shelters. In addition, the depiction of Mittens, who had been declawed by her previous owners, raised awareness about the cruelty and long-term consequences of declawing, prompting discussions about more humane alternatives. So with all this actual good brought about by the existence of Bolt, something must have gone terribly awry for it to never evolve into a franchise, right? The only reason I'm racking my brain over what Bolt did wrong is that I really wanted a sequel, and to this day, I still do. So I found after a long search a few substantial possible reasons we only got one movie, and then another theory that's a bit more mysterious. Firstly, this was not a Disney film, at least not in the traditional sense. Unlike classic Disney movies that often rely on fairy tales and fantastical elements, Bolt presented a more grounded and contemporary storyline. Additionally, its 3D animation, though state-of-the-art, contrasted with Disney's traditional hand-drawn animation style. And the most important way it was different from Disney movies is that it wasn't a musical, something that confused the heck out of Disney purists. But that's not all. The seeds of confusion seem to have been sown months before the release. The marketing and trailers for Bolt presented it as an action-packed superhero movie, which led many to expect a different genre than the heartfelt, character-driven story they got. I understand why Disney marketed it as they did, though just like Bolt didn't know who and what he really was, they wanted to put the audience in his fur from the get-go. The confusion was intended as a surprise, a feature, not a bug. But did this confusion really cause the improbability of a Bolt franchise? There's something else that makes more sense to me. I believe John Lasseter did his job too well. Bolt was intended to look and feel like a classic Disney movie, blending emotionally rich storytelling with cutting-edge animation, and Lasseter accomplished this brilliantly. So Bolt did what it had to do. It put Disney back on track, but when it was done, Disney put it out to pasture like a sick dog. Why create a franchise of essentially a Pixar clone when Pixar can do that with their own movies? This was apparent in the fact that directly after Bolt, Disney created The Princess and the Frog, which was a return to traditional hand-drawn animation and classic storytelling. They only got back into the Pixar-esque approach from 2012 onwards with films like Wreck-It Ralph and Big Hero 6. But between The Princess and the Frog and Wreck-It Ralph, there was a stepping stone. Tangled, which featured the best of both worlds, a classical fantasy setting and characters that were 3D, but somehow still felt hand-drawn. It's clear that Disney loved what they'd accomplished with Bolt, and then once they knew they could do it, decided to gradually change their style. And in doing so, Bolt was forgotten. In retrospect, I personally believe Bolt would have become a franchise, spawning more movies and even a series if it was just released under Pixar and not Disney. Some fans, however, suspected that something more sinister was afoot. Many secrets lie hidden in the frames of this animation, some fun and some less so, as we'll reveal. But let's start with the fun ones. How many of these did you notice? The bus with the number 2525 references the movie Speed. The magazines Tiger Beat and Dog Fancy are real publications included for authenticity. Joe Mateo, one of the story artists, is mentioned when a security gate lady asks for him.
Hi, is it Joe Mateo?
The water tower is modeled after Disney Studios' famous Eiffel Tower. In Russia, the movie was released under the name Volt to avoid vulgar connotations. Bolt's overestimation of his abilities exemplifies the Dunning-Kruger effect. I'm not going to explain that now. Go look it up. And lastly, Bolt's tag has the actual address of Disney Animation Studios. I know, pretty cool, right? But inside this jumble of Easter eggs, Disney allegedly hid something ominous. An apology which got way more attention than they anticipated.
Now I'm concerned on a number of levels.
Many fans believe that this apology was folded into the essence of the movie, and perhaps the reason the narrative changed from the initial trippy concept of American Dog to the very specific story of Bolt. If the apology does exist, it was likely injected into the project to ease someone's guilty conscience at Disney. And reasons for guilty consciences were plenty, because accusations were rampant of young stars who were part of Disney Channel shows being heavily controlled, and worse. In Bolt, this apology can be seen in the portrayal of the manipulative Hollywood industry and the overbearing agent, especially the scenes where the agent prioritizes profit over Penny's well-being and where Bolt discovers his true self. The way Bolt is kept in the dark about his real identity is also a reflection of how young stars were kept unaware of their own exploitation.
We jump through hoops to make sure that Bolt believes everything is real.
If the dog believes it, the audience believes it.
Sounds far-fetched, right? Well, consider this. Most of these rumors came out in the years leading up to Bolt's release. Many young female stars from Disney Channel shows reported being heavily sexualized and pressured to maintain a squeaky clean image. For example, Allison Stoner from The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody discussed the lack of autonomy she experienced, focusing on academics instead of enjoying her childhood. And Cole Sprouse from the same show highlighted the trauma of fame, especially for young women. Disney's control extended to strict dress codes, public appearances, and manipulating perceptions. This environment led many stars to seek independence as soon as their contracts allowed. What puts the cherry on the cupcake is that we've already mentioned one of these Disney stars.
Yeah, come out and support your little sis. We're like a great big dysfunctional family over there at Hannah Montana.
Miley Cyrus, who voices Penny, has since spoken out about her experiences and sought to redefine her career. Although much of this may just be plain conjecture, it does make you think. For example, what was the real reason Miley replaced Chloe after Chloe had already recorded all her lines? Was it because Miley was already thinking of leaving Disney? Whether you believe the apology theory or that Bolt was simply just too much of a success and ahead of the times for Disney, one fact remains: a sequel would be awesome! Is it too late for a sequel or series? No, really, I'm asking because potential scripts and ideas would basically write themselves. Imagine a series that picks up where the movie left off, diving into the actual show where Bolt is a superhero. Fans could watch Bolt and Penny embark on epic adventures, using Bolt's superpowers to save the day. The series could explore new villains, delve into Bolt's backstory, and introduce a host of new characters, all while maintaining the charm and excitement that made the original film so beloved. I know I'm older now, don't remind me, but I'll still love it. And if that doesn't float your boat, here's another idea. Many people have speculated about the connections between Bolt and the classic character Inspector Gadget. Imagine a reboot that merges these two worlds. The combination of Bolt's earnest heroism and Gadget's clumsy yet effective detective work could create a dynamic and entertaining show. Actually, I don't care if it's too late or not for a sequel or series. I'm still campaigning till someone gets the common sense to just make it and give fans what they've been waiting for. I don't care how long it takes. Bolt fans everywhere deserve it. And if they don't, well, let's just say we're expecting another apology.